Thank you very much. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Thank you. So yeah, a little over 10 years ago, it's true, I was a graphic design student here at Portfolio Center, as you can see. And every week I would sit here and listen to these seminars and hear unbelievably talented people talk about incredibly creative work, and go home feeling extremely motivated, but also a little scared. I was motivated because the stories I heard made me realize how impactful a career in the creative world could be. That the things I made could somehow reach hundreds or thousands or even millions of people. But that was balanced by an equal dose of fear. Fear that my career would never live up to the astronomically high standards that I saw, that my student work was all crap in comparison. Oh God, what am I doing with my life? So on and so on. Existential breakdowns, that sort of thing. So as I was thinking about putting together this talk, I tried to put myself back in these chairs and try to remember, what was I thinking in 2006 when I was a student about to leave the safety of a creative arts school and enter professional grown-up life for real? What questions did I have? What was I worried about? Where did I think my career would take me? And then I started thinking back to what lessons or seminars or conversations stuck with me throughout all these years. And it really came down to stories. The stuff I personally remembered the best and has had the most impact on my life are not isolated pull quotes or portfolio pieces existing in a vacuum. It's the stories and the people behind them. So that's all I'm going to do tonight, tell 7 stories. And at the very least, I hope they're entertaining, and at most, maybe you'll remember something from them. So if you ever find yourself one day in a similar situation, maybe one of these will help you just a little. So today's stories are, number 1, success is a Darth Maul mask. Number 2, cartoon Donald Trump. Number 3, making time for the Bloody Baron. 4, why we lost Ram Jam 1998. Number 5, I'm a little baby bumblebee. 6, the backup whiteboard. And 7, Colin Farrell's house party. These will all make sense by the end of the talk, I swear, hopefully. So number 1, success is a Darth Maul mask. Everyone has a different definition of what success means to them. And for the longest time, until a few years ago, my definition of success was pretty much the same as Indiana Jones.
Fortune and glory, kid. Fortune and glory.
Fortune and glory. So essentially money and fame. Both of these have importance, but there's a little more to them than what's on the surface level. So let's dig into them a little more. Money. So first off, yes, you can make money being creative, and yes, you can enjoy your job, Dad. No, my parents were very supportive of my career choice. But really, I think there's the uninformed public perception that going to design school is a poor investment and that creative jobs don't pay as well as others. But I'm here to tell you that at least going the Portfolio Center 2-year graduate school route, it was the best investment I ever made in my career. And I genuinely love my job. It has its ups and downs like any other. But just the other day, one of my tasks was drawing and animating a cartoon monster talking about the struggles of whether or not to pay the extra $2 to get guacamole at Chipotle. So it's true, right? It's a struggle. I don't know. So life is good. I can't complain. So for salary, be informed. You can look up salaries of junior art directors and designers on sites like Glassdoor.com from areas you're interested in or companies you might admire. And then also look at what the senior designers or creative directors are reportedly making. And you can imagine where a potential career path can take you. That gives you the knowledge of what a potential career in your chosen industry could earn. Money is important, but I don't think you can measure success solely by salary. First off, salary is boring. It's just an expected simple indicator because it's easily quantifiable. Low numbers are bad, high numbers are good, higher numbers are better. You can easily measure salary over time as opposed to more qualitative stuff like job happiness or how good the break room coffee is or how annoying a particular coworker is. Salary is a number, and to me, it's largely an indicator of your conditions, where you live, who you work for, what your experience level is, and what your role is. It's a value that a company is giving to you based off of a ton of factors, many of which may be outside of your control. Just look at what a junior designer makes in New York City versus Omaha, Nebraska. Now, I've got nothing against Omaha. I was actually born there, fun fact. But they are in completely different markets, and it's completely different in what makes a competitive salary or cost of living or number of active cornfields. So I think money definitely factors into the success equation, but it can't be everything. It can't be. So what about fame? Well, the internet has brought along the relatively new term, internet famous. And basically, it's the natural evolution of Andy Warhol's well-known saying that everyone in the future will be famous for 15 minutes. It means that you get attention one day for something you do, and then everyone forgets about you when the next thing comes along, usually in the form of a cat doing something unexpected and hilarious. So yes, I've made a handful of things in the past that have gotten a decent amount of attention in the past, and many of those have helped lead to some incredible connections and opportunities. And sometimes it gets a little weird. So I told this story the last time I was here, so apologies if you've heard it before, but last year I made this homage to Sesame Street, an acoustic cover version of the classic Ernie song, I Don't Want to Live on the Moon. It's my all-time favorite song, and I used my kids' puppets and toys to create this fun 3-minute short and put it out there on the internet. And like most things on the internet, once you put it out there, you never know who's going to see it. So last year, I was up on stage at the South by Southwest conference in Austin, Texas, getting ready for this talk I was doing. And there were maybe 300, 400 people in the room. And I'm up there on stage getting ready, and I hear, "Dave!" in the back of the room. And I turn around, and this guy's there. So Cookie Monster was at South by Southwest and came to personally tell me that everyone at Sesame Street loved the video and they wanted to give me a hug. So my life's only gone downhill from there. But it's a small world, and the internet is making it smaller every day. But fame is fleeting, it's temporary, it comes and goes. And if you tie fame to a metric, there's always going to be someone with more followers on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, whatever. It's a battle you'll never win because this isn't a high school popularity contest anymore. You're competing with the entire world. And to be honest, it's a really empty form of measurement. Wow, so people know who you are. Okay, and what's next? How does that matter? On the surface, it's something more to feed our own egos than anything else. So when people talk about fame, I think what a lot of them are getting at is the potential for positive impact. The more people that I can reach and connect to, the more potential positive impact that I can have. And that can be as frivolous as a funny music video that I put out there to put a smile on someone's face and entertain them for a few minutes. Or as impactful as someone telling me that they saw something I made or a talk that I gave and that they're pursuing a creative career because of me. So the question is it your name that people will remember or the more immeasurable ripples that your actions help create? Put another way, do you care about having your name on the vaccine or curing cancer? So let's look at where we are with the math so far. Salary plus positive impact equals success. For most of my life, I probably would have agreed with that formula. Others may differ, you add in a car or a house or a job title or whatever. But then I married this girl. And then these two came along. And success wasn't just about me anymore. I genuinely care about how my family feels and what they want. If they're having a good or bad day, it impacts me too. So I realized that my formula for success up to this point had been pretty selfish. So it evolved into this: salary plus positive impact plus happy ABCs, that's April, Bridget, Cameron. And yes, we did plan that, April, Bridget, Cameron, Dave, ABCD. Equals success. Now, this is not to say that I think everyone needs to get married and have exactly one boy and one girl to feel successful. Not at all. The bigger takeaway here is that I think for a more fulfilling equation for success, you have to include others. The people you care about the most, whether that's family, friends, pets, neighbors, Hank, whoever. And the point where this was clearest to me was something my 5-year-old Cameron did last year. Cameron loves to create. He's in that stage of life where he thinks any problem can be solved with construction paper, crayons, tape, and scissors. He's the kid where when they give him a placemat with crayons at a restaurant and they have all these activities, connect the dots and word finds and stuff like that, he turns it over and wants to draw on the blank side instead. It's usually saying like Angry Birds and Avengers teaming up to battle Darth Vader and the Joker, that sort of thing. he clearly has a creative side, and we've tried to nurture and support that. And I have to give a lot of credit to April here. Our playroom is basically one giant creation room, and it's not uncommon for all of us to be sitting in here together making stuff as a family. So Cameron really got into Star Wars last year. He's a 5-year-old boy, what are you gonna do? And Darth Maul is his favorite character. So one day he wanted to dress up as him, and without any help or prodding from April or me, no help at all, this is what he came up with. So he drew the face in crayon by referencing a Star Wars book he had, then he cut it out, he poked eye holes with a pencil, he taped it to his head, and then he used a blanket for a cloak. That moment will stick with me forever. That's when it clicked that, wow, this little guy is independently creating something that he really loves. In Cameron's 5-year-old world, this is his definition for success. Making an awesome Darth Maul costume equals success. And because he feels successful, so do I. Here's his follow-up, Kylo Ren, by the way. It's pretty good as well. But I know that there are going to be plenty of times where you feel unsuccessful. Everyone feels this way. I've worked incredibly hard for months and months on passion projects, only to see them barely make an impact when they finally launch and get out there. I was let go from a fledgling startup job once. And worst of all, I sang off-key playing an acoustic version of Let It Go at Bridget's 3rd birthday party. That last key change, it's tough. It's tough. I know Idina Menzel or whatever her name is. But we learn from these situations and move on. As you enter the professional world, my advice would be this: know what your personal definition of success is. Take the time to really think about it and figure it out, because if you know what's the most important to you, it makes prioritizing your career and life a lot easier. Okay, number 2, cartoon Donald Trump. I've been working at Adobe as a UI UX designer, that's user interface, user experience design, for the past 4 years. And I started working on a mobile video editing app called Adobe Premiere Clip for iOS and Android, which is a very handy app. It lets you edit videos on your phone or tablet, and then you can send them to Premiere Pro on your desktop for more editing and adding extra effects and all that stuff, so things aren't just tied to your phone. It's a great little app. And then I heard about this internal team that was working on a cool top-secret project codenamed Animal. It was basically a lot of people who had actually made Adobe After Effects now working on something new. Their idea was that animation had traditionally been a time-consuming process that required significant amount of high-level expertise. So what if there were a way to make animation, character animation in particular, faster to make stuff with, easier to learn, and more fun? And that's what Character Animator is. So I'm going to jump out of this for just a second and do a quick demo. So this is, we don't need to know that Jim's on PTO up there. Let's turn that calendar alert off. But this is a character that I created in Photoshop. And so the layer structure is pretty much the same here. And so if you name your layers in Photoshop a certain way, left eyebrow, right pupil, mouth, all of that stuff, then you just put on a webcam. And so this nightmarish image that you're seeing here is what's controlling everything. And so this works with any standard webcam, and it's controlling, it's tracking my eyebrows and my pupils and all of that stuff. And the cool thing is that then this translates to a character. What? So as I turn my head, as I'm talking, it's automatically switching between 11 different mouth shapes, all that stuff. So I can kind of move around. I've got dragger behavior, so I can drag the limbs to do certain things. I've got keyboard triggers that I can customize to basically say, show this layer or hide this layer. And I can do sequences too. So that's like a 3-frame animation that I'm doing there to close his eyes. I can widen his eyes like that. And then, of course, I can breathe fire. So that's Character Animator. So when I first heard about this project, I joined the internal pre-release program while I was still in the Premiere team and started making characters. This guy, Red Monster, is special because I made him in like 10 or 15 minutes tops, probably during my lunch break one day. And little did I know, he would eventually become the unofficial mascot for Character Animator, showing up as an example character on the onboarding tutorial and on stickers and t-shirts and other types of things. And luckily, one day a design position opened up on the team, and they reached out to me, and it seemed like a perfect fit, so I joined. And it's been incredibly fulfilling to see this little secret project launched to the public as a beta and start to gain traction. And I think the team had always thought, wow, if we keep working on this, maybe in 3 to 5 years, we'll actually see this get used on TV, like maybe in a commercial or something small or something like that. Wait, what? The Simpsons called? The longest running American animated series of all time? And they want to use Character Animator to do a live episode? So this came out of nowhere, and it was a crazy few months, but somehow it all worked out. Here's the highlights.
This is the last episode of The Simpsons. It's been a great run. Just kidding, Joe.
Homer, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Is that your question?
I was wondering, what kind of car do you drive?
I drive a hybrid, which is a combination of old and terrible. Next caller. If you're seeing this, something has gone horribly, horribly wrong. Or you're watching the international version. And to prove that we're live, on Saturday Night Live, last night, Drake was terrible. Now to take your calls.
If Donald Trump becomes the president,
Yes.
Are you going to move out of Springfield and possibly move to Canada?
Well, there are a lot of people who want me to move out of Springfield already, but I don't think Canada will welcome me. But you know what? That's why I'm for Bernie Sanders. I love his chicken, but out of respect, we should refer to him as the Colonel.
So that was all done improv live using Character Animator, and they did an East Coast and a West Coast version. And it was an awesome experience. Working with the team over there was a dream come true. I got to visit their studios in LA and ask Homer about 5 questions during they did these internal Adobe test runs where it was just us on the team calling and asking Homer questions. So I asked him about what he thought of Game of Thrones and a few other things. And one thing I asked him was if he could have any superpower, what would it be? And he answered he wanted X-ray vision, but he assured me that he would definitely only use it for good and definitely not to look through people's clothing. So. Then right around the Simpsons episode, this also happened.
Please welcome Cartoon Donald Trump. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, thank you for being here, Cartoon Donald Trump.
Thank you, Stephen. It's great to be here. He started it.
Wait, what? Who started what?
Anybody, Stephen, whatever they started. Unless it makes America great again, in which case I started it. It's very exciting, the best.
Okay, now, Mr. Cartoon Trump, how do you respond to Anderson Cooper comparing you to a 5-year-old?
Anderson Cooper's a dum-dum. He's a stupid head, a total poopy pants. It's sad.
How do you feel about the controversy surrounding the DNC hacked emails? Has it ruined the convention for you?
That is a beautiful question, and it makes me very happy that you asked it of me. It is true that this week didn't start exactly as we planned it since 1998. But I think everyone agrees that now is the time for us all to come together in unity, or harmony, or solidarity, or whatever synonym resonates more strongly with you. Just gonna delete.
I don't want to interrupt you, madam, but given how upset...
So The Late Show with Stephen Colbert has used Character Animator for several successful segments now, and they do this cool thing. Basically, we allow you to export your cartoon character and then be able to put it on top of anything. So in this case, they're doing it over top of live video and having Stephen interact. So there's a guy in a booth in the back who's doing the voice and they triggering all these different motions and things like that, and they're able to do this live on air. This one was done actually very live, no tape delay, because this was right after the conventions. And the thing that's cool about this is they have a really short turnaround time. These guys have 1, maybe 2 days at most to come up with these little segments, and so Character Animator has given them a fast way to create characters, put animation out there, and basically create a live cartoon. And it's been really successful for them, and it's really exciting to see how they've pushed it. So we're still in the beta phase and have a lot more to work on, but the initial response has been great, and it seems like there's a really bright future ahead. We have a lot more cool stuff planned that I'm not allowed to talk about just yet. So if you've ever been interested in character animation but have been frightened away, you can give this a try. It's already out. It's bundled with current versions of After Effects CC. So if you have After Effects, you already have this program. Overall, this opens up a lot of possibilities because our drawing style is like our handwriting. Everyone has a unique voice and style. So it's really exciting to me to think what can happen if animating those drawings becomes more accessible to a wider audience. Number 3, making time for the Bloody Baron. What is the correct ratio for achieving a great work-life balance? Is it A, 50% work, 50% life? Okay. B, 100% work, hashtag hustle, hashtag ask Gary V. Gary Vaynerchuk reference there. C, I live my life a quarter mile at a time. Dominic Toretto, as portrayed by Vin Diesel in the Fast and Furious movies. That doesn't really make any sense, but okay. And D, the numbers change every day. Personally, I would go with D, although C is a close second, I think. But in reality, work versus life is too simplistic a comparison. There's a lot more that factors into the balance. What about sleeping? What about a commute? Are we talking about the more work-heavy weekdays or the more typically life-heavy weekends? I think that work-life balance is a constant juggling act, and it's probably the single hardest thing that I do on a recurring basis. The demands of my work, my family, and my own personal needs are constantly shifting, and I'm always readjusting to keep them all in check. Now, I love video games. I always have. That's me sitting way too close to the TV playing Xevious for the Atari 7800 back in the 80s. And there I am getting letters to the editor published in Nintendo Power and GamePro magazine in the 1990s. And yes, I did take the music from Star Fox's Corneria level and turned it into a song called Grasshopper Suicide. That was the high point in my life until the Cookie Monster thing, by the way. But if you look at the list of things to balance in life, work, wife and kids, friends, sleep, bills and chores, commute, it becomes increasingly hard to rationalize that video games rank high on that list. But I also realize I can't cut out this thing from my life that I genuinely enjoy. Because whether it's watching TV shows or sports or movies, reading a book, working on cars, taking a yoga class, traveling or whatever, we all have these so-called non-essential things that we're passionate about. And I'm saying that's healthy. It's okay, and it's necessary to keep those as part of our routine to feel balanced. So for example, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is a highly acclaimed video game that came out last year. This is basically the video game equivalent of Game of Thrones. It's a big, open, sprawling world with a ton to explore. Like, this is a map screen, and all those little question marks are points of interest that you can go explore and check out. So some of them might be just one-off buried treasures or monster lairs, but others might lead to intricate, multi-hour-long quests with interesting characters, twists, and turns. And yeah, you kill some monsters along the way, but the writing and characters and nuanced storylines are what really make it stand out. But conventional wisdom also says that this game can take well over 100 hours to beat, to complete the story and see all this world has to offer. That's a lot of time. And your next thought might be, that's a complete waste of time. Imagine what else you could be doing with those 100 hours. Well, first off, my personal gaming time is extremely limited these days, so I'm lucky if I get 1 hour a day to play, maybe 2 at most, and that's usually in the mornings before work. So when you spread those 100 hours over 3 or 4 months, it's a little more plausible. But second, I realized it's a necessary part of my day-to-day life to feel balanced. It's an experience, an escape, and I prioritized it because of that, making sure that I get some personal time every day. No phone, no emails, no work, no family, just me. And the other thing is, if you're a creator, you can't create just in a vacuum. Being part of pop culture is part of life, and what we consume helps shape what we create. If we're heads down in our work all the time, we're missing out on the living world changing in front of us. There's this really excellent storyline in The Witcher 3, the one that people probably talk about the most, where your adventures lead you to meet this guy, a local warlord commonly known as the Bloody Baron. And even before you meet him, you see these missing person posters strewn around the nearby village for the Baron's wife and daughter. So you meet him and agree to help him find his missing family. But of course, things are not exactly what they seem, and as you explore and dig deeper, you're not sure who to believe. Everyone in this family is hiding something, and the story goes in a lot of unexpected but satisfying directions. The best part is, instead of watching the story from the sidelines, you're right in the middle of it, experiencing it and making decisions that affect what happens. That interactive element makes me feel much more engaged. I care about the fates of these characters. And without spoiling anything, in my playthrough, I ended up helping bury one character and another hung themselves on a tree. And those, yeah, so I didn't do too well, apparently. But those moments carried a lot of emotional weight because of my previous interactions with these characters. I felt like an active participant in the story instead of a passive bystander. So I'm not looking at The Witcher 3 solely as a game that I need to beat. I'm looking at it as one of the best modern examples of interactive storytelling and a sign of where the future is headed. As virtual and augmented reality loom on the horizon and beckon to become part of our lives, these are the kinds of stories and worlds and experiences that I think people will want. These expansive worlds, rich characters, complex choices with branching storyline paths feel to me like the future of interactive storytelling that we're all headed towards. But while I love a meaty, epic, single-player adventure, I also love the increasingly bigger social aspects of gaming, and that's where I found a way to balance my loves of games into other parts of my life. So one night a week, I play multiplayer first-person shooter games like Battlefield with several of my out-of-state friends. And it's a great excuse to catch up and stay in touch with these lifelong buddies. And if you can imagine the conversations of, several 30-something-year-old guys with families, it's something like this. All right, I'm going to go engineer. There's too many tanks around. I'm going to lay down some landmines. Hey, have you guys ever refinanced your house? They're saying that they can do no closing costs with a 0.25% down and sniper on the roof by the factory. I repeat, by the water tower. Sniper on the factory. But then it reverts back to a 30-year fixed again. So is it worth it? That kind of thing. That's a completely true quote, I swear. So I prioritized a way to hang out with my best friends and play games. And then I've also started playing games with my kids, particularly the Lego series that Traveler's Tales puts out. They're incredibly low stakes. You can't die, you just explode into block pieces and reassemble again in seconds. And they're a ton of fun. Cameron and I will be playing Lego Jurassic World and have all the raptors jump kicking Indominus Rex, and we're laughing and giving each other high fives when we unlock Steven Spielberg and Mr. DNA as playable characters. The landscape of gaming has changed so much since I was growing up. My parents never played video games with me, so it's really cool to be sharing these experiences with my kids at a young age. And finally, I'll play the more story-based games with my wife at night, like The Wolf Among Us, Heavy Rain, Life is Strange, the games where the core gameplay isn't about killing bad guys or completing quests or how fast you can mash the X button. Instead, it's about making dialogue choices. Again, it all comes back to interesting characters and stories. So this is a long-winded way of getting to this point. When you're balancing work and life, as you get older and gain more and more responsibilities, a lot of times personal needs are going to be the first thing that you cut back on. So know what you love and find ways to work it into your life. Because everything matters. Everything you do has the potential to influence your work and life. It's okay to make room for the fun stuff. Make time for the Bloody Baron. Somewhere in your day, prioritize the activities that may seem frivolous and like a waste of time to everyone else, but to you are inspirational, entertaining, and help give you a sense of balance. And don't ever be ashamed of that. Why we lost Ram Jam 98. In the late 1990s, I attended Robinson High School in Fairfax, Virginia. And since I played piano and sang a little, and my brother played the drums, we formed a band with our two friends, Don and Eugene. We ended up sticking together through college, eventually swapping Eugene out for our other friend, Jeff. Bass player, they're interchangeable. Sorry. It's terrible. Oh, God. Someone's going to start throwing things at me. The band was originally called Second Nature, which we later got a cease and desist letter from thanks to a jazz band with the same name. So in college, we changed it. And we all liked watching kung fu movies, and I was into Kurosawa films at the time, so we rebranded ourselves as OK Samurai. And to this day, that's still my internet handle on Twitter, YouTube, and elsewhere. And by the way, sometimes people ask, well, what kind of OK do you mean? Is it OK Samurai? Like, yes, that's affirmative, Samurai, go do your thing. Or is it that we're OK Samurai, like we're just mediocre at the samurai stuff, we're not that great? And the answer is, there's no answer, we just thought it sounded cool. So anyway, rewinding back to high school, at Robinson every year there was a battle of the bands. We were the Robinson Rams, so the contest was dubbed Ram Jam. And this is what any high school band lived for. This was a chance to play in the big student theater to a huge crowd with professional sound and lighting and fog machines and compete to win first place in the admiration of the entire school, including girls. So we sent in an audition cassette tape and got in for our junior year. We played our original hits, Fresh from the Farm and Instant Oatmeal Road, and I don't know how we came up with this, and ended up winning third place. So next year, when we were seniors, we had more experience and confidence. Deep down, I knew it was our destiny to win first place at Ram Jam. And that's because we had a secret weapon. See, the plan was to start with our alt-rocker song we called Third. I don't know why I played it first and called it Third, but whatever, to get the crowd warmed up, and then finish with Back to Blues, which had an enormous ending jam session where everyone would have solos and show off our individual music skills. And that included bringing out the best musician in the entire school, Eric Aspertu. Eric was our friend, and his lead guitar skills were unparalleled. So he was going to come out and shred these face-melting blues riffs and blow everyone away. So the night of the show came, and I have to admit, the competition was stiff. Princess was the all-girl alternative band who had major talent. There was the Boys of Scobinson. Get it? Instead of Robinson, it's Scobinson. They were riding on the peak of late 90s ska wave and had a lot of skilled musicians as well. And other bands like Boot to the Head, Halcyon Days, and Bucket of Monkey were all vying for Ram Jam glory. We got out there and played our song Third and killed it. It was going great. And then we prepared for the grand finale, Back to Blues. They wheeled Eric's amp out and he plugged in. I could hear whispers in the crowd. Oh crap, they got Aspertu! My bandmate Don and I had to switch instruments too. He went from electric to acoustic, and I went from electric to piano. So there was a lot of shuffling instruments around and equipment and doing sound checks, that sort of thing. After a few minutes, we were ready and unleashed Back to Blues to the world. It went great, especially that end jam session. My piano and harmonica solos, Andrew's drum solo, Don's acoustic solo, Eugene's slap bass solo, and Eric Aspertu's electric solos were nothing short of spectacular. And then we all came back together for a forceful ending that brought down the house. The crowd went crazy. We had done it. At the end of the night, our guitar teacher, the legendary Glenn McCarthy, announced the winners. Third and second place went to other bands, leaving the grand prize wide open and ready for the taking. Mr. Mack raised the microphone one final time. My heart missed a beat. First place goes to Boot to the Head. Yeah, we were devastated. This felt like the biggest failure of our lives. And in our own naive suburban teenage bubble world, winning Ram Jam had been something we'd been dreaming of and building up to for years. How did this happen? The judging panel was a group of professional local musicians, and Mr. McCarthy handed out their cards full of notes at the end of the night. Because Mr. Mack is an incredible teacher, one of the best I ever had, he knew this was a learning experience more than a matter of winning and losing. Little did he know I'd be referencing almost 20 years later, but I'm not bitter. Our band scanned through the notes. Some of the feedback was pretty subjective. One judge said Eric played too many notes. What? Stupid. But there was one, I said it wasn't bitter. There's one common thread between all the judges, one thing that stood out as a negative to everyone, and that was the break that we had in between the two songs. So for 3 minutes, while we were switching instruments and doing sound checks, we completely ignored the audience. We didn't hide the break at all, and the momentum of the performance suffered because of it. Those 3 minutes cost us Ram Jam. That's a lesson that stuck with me throughout my entire life. Presentation matters. In the creative field, a large part of our lives is spent presenting our designs and ideas to others, and then dealing with the inevitable feedback and critiques that come with it. When I know I have a big executive presentation, I sketch out a loose script and I practice it. I add videos, animated examples, and interactive prototypes because I want people to be engaged. And if I ever have to switch between devices in the middle of a presentation, you can be damn sure it doesn't take me 3 minutes. And this may be hard to believe, but the cool, unwavering character that you see before you here today was not always like this in the past. Stop laughing, that's all right. There's this video of our first performance, Janine Mason's 16th birthday party in her basement. And I'm singing Glycerine by Bush, wearing a hat with my head down. And not only is my Gavin Rossdale impression completely off, it must be a skin all sinking in. I mean, it's really bad. I'm not connecting with the audience at all. But that was something I acknowledged as a shortcoming and practiced. And with every concert we had played, I got a little bit better. Because I noticed when I was energetic and jumping around and even crowd surfing, the audience got into the music more and had a better time. And then my first job out of college was teaching 6th and 7th grade language arts in inner city Baltimore with the Teach for America program. You go ahead and try to figure out how to get a class of 35 hormonal teenagers interested in the modifier properties of adverbs, and then try to tell me the presentation doesn't matter. We are in the business of communication. You will have to present a lot in your creative careers. So practice, add in unexpected parts, inject humor, keep a forward momentum, and end strong. The ability to communicate effectively with others can play an enormous role in moving your careers forward. And I should say, Eric Too Many Notes to Spare To is doing just fine today. He's the lead guitarist for the band Atomic Tom, who had a viral video several years back where they're all playing instrument apps on their iPhones on the New York subway. That's him with the mustache there, second from the right side. I'm a little baby bumblebee. When I was growing up, my family traveled a lot, and my dad chronicled just about everything we did with his Sony handheld video camera. So when we got home from a vacation, we'd all sit down and watch the raw, unedited videotape for 2 hours. And it'd be exciting for the first few minutes, but then you'd see the 4th consecutive beach panoramic shot and the entirety of a 20-minute Disney World Main Street parade. And we would lose interest and plead to our dad to fast forward. So although we were the stars of our own vacation videos, even we had trouble getting through them. And that's why, at a very young age, I learned about the importance of video editing. It turns out that's been a valuable skill since video is everywhere you look nowadays. On social networks, news sites, online education, you name it, and video is taking over. So let's keep talking about this vacation scenario. Everyone goes on vacation, and many people post photos or videos from those vacations on social media. We want to share what we're up to with our family and friends, and let's be honest, make them feel insanely jealous of all the awesome stuff we're doing while they sit in their cubicles and reevaluate their clearly inferior lives. For summer vacation this year, my family went to Maui for 10 days. And like most vacations we take, I shoot a ton of video, and once we get home, I edit it down to a 2 to 3 minute highlight reel set to music. It's a great way to remember the trip and have an entertaining artifact that we can go back to in the future. So yes, I apologize in advance, but I'm now going to force you all to watch my vacation video. Thank you. So I'll be the first to admit, that's a heavily edited version of our vacation, for better or for worse. Amazingly, there aren't any meltdowns or temper tantrums from the kids or me. The weather always seems perfect, everyone is always smiling, we always catch a perfect wave, and everything is accompanied by an optimistic and cheerful soundtrack. But here's the thing. When we share things online, we are all showing an edited version of our lives. We curate how we portray ourselves to the outside world, and that's okay. Because every time I scroll through my Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram feeds, I'm making hundreds of snap judgments, and those are constantly evolving and shaping how I feel about other people. I'd like to say that I'm beyond all this and can see people for the well-rounded individuals that they are, but if I'm being completely honest, the way that some people portray themselves online and the limited time I have to form an opinion while I scroll down can often make me feel otherwise. So for better or for worse, editing our online personas, even if it's just picking out the profile picture that we feel is the best representation of us, is not all that different from editing video. And I feel like video is an entertaining way to share our vacation with family and friends. And I'm totally okay if people don't watch the full 2 minutes or play it with the sound off or whatever. Digging into the metrics, the average viewing time of that video has been about 56 seconds. In a world where the next story is always one swipe or tap away, I will gladly take those 56 seconds. So here's a quick breakdown of how the Maui video was edited. I purposefully start the video with establishing shots, a close-up of a big colorful fish, a pan behind a tree to reveal a beautiful beach, and so on. It sets the location and hopefully draws the viewer in with exotic, visually interesting parts. In online video, the first few seconds are critical. This video is most likely going to start automatically playing in people's feeds, so you have to grab the audience's attention and make them feel engaged and invested. Later on, there's several scenes where I'm snorkeling and doing flips underwater, and later on a shark swims by. And this is incredibly deceptive because I just so happen to leave out any footage of us at the Maui Ocean Center. So yes, the blue fish you saw at the beginning and the shark at the end were all shot behind the safety of glass at an aquarium. So sometimes when you're crafting a story, you can leave out certain details to make things look more interesting than they really are. The whole thing is edited to the beats of a soundtrack, which I bought on a royalty-free music site called Audio Network. This is an easy way to edit these kind of highlight videos. Just cut from clip to clip on the beats. The most common issue that I see with beginner online video is people not knowing when to edit and holding on to a single shot for too long, which makes the pace of the video feel slower, and that lack of momentum is less likely to hook the viewer in. So editing to the beats, at least in this type of highlight reel style video, gives you an excuse and a guide to make more precise edits. And then you can sneak in those longer shots to mix things up and have more impact. Like in this one, I'm doing the "I'm a little baby bumblebee" dance that my 2-year-old daughter learned for a ballet class recital. But my kids are ignoring it and doing their own thing, and they think that's hilarious when I turn around from my buzzy buzz part and see them going off script. That felt like it deserved a little extra airtime. Finally, color plays a tremendous role in how our video is perceived. I had several people comment or email me about this video asking me what DSLR camera did I use because the video looks bright and colorful and polished. But every single shot in that video was shot with an iPhone. The real secret to getting everything to look better was playing around with the color. So typically when I'm editing, like in the award-winning Adobe Premiere Pro, I'll go into a Luma, see how I snuck that in there? I go into a Luma Curves panel and apply a small S-curve, which basically means I just make the highlights a little brighter and the shadows a little darker. And then I'll play around with the hue and saturation levels to make the colors as vibrant but realistic as possible. The result is something that looks a little bit more vivid, polished, and professional. So all those pieces hopefully come together and create an entertaining glimpse into our vacation in a concise little package. If you don't know how to edit a video, learn now. I was so happy to hear that they've started adding video classes here at Portfolio Center. Take them all. If you don't know After Effects or motion graphics, learn now. Because the importance of video grows stronger every day and will continue to be one of the most effective and engaging ways you can share your stories with the world. And by the way, it's awesome how accessible these professional editing tools are nowadays. The same Adobe Premiere Pro that anyone in the Creative Cloud can get is the exact same one that major studios are using to edit movies like Gone Girl, Deadpool, and Hail Caesar. So if you want to edit your cat videos with the same tool that David Fincher used for Gone Girl, you can do that. And as a student, this is the perfect time to learn. And I should know that because that's exactly what I did. I made some truly terrible videos when I was a student at Portfolio Center, but I learned a lot from the experiences. Yeah, we'll just stop that. The backup whiteboard. Right outside my office at Adobe, there's this whiteboard in the hallway. And the first year I was there, it remained blank. No one ever used it. I guess they thought it would be used for a lot of impromptu hallway meetings, but that never was the case. I don't know. So one day, I just started doodling on it with a dry erase marker. I was probably on a conference call or something and had my headphones on and was drawing whatever came to mind to help pass the time. I've always loved to draw. This is my third grade Great American Novel, Skull Rider, in which a kid named Andrew is bitten by a bat and turns into a skateboarding skeleton and then kills a bunch of bad guys in Monster World. This is the comic strip I drew for the Cavalier Daily, the daily newspaper at the University of Virginia. This is an example of one of the very first strips I drew versus one of the last. It turns out that being forced to draw on a daily basis for 4 years really does help refine your techniques a little bit. At Portfolio Center, I learned how to add those illustrations into commercial work to help them feel unique. This was a treasure map that I did for an arts and education program. And then more recently, here's some illustrations I did for our kids' rooms. A pirate ship for Cameron and a tree house for Bridget. So back to the whiteboard, I'd keep adding to it over time, making a quick sketch when I went to get coffee or was in another telephone meeting or whatever. And since it was a whiteboard, there was always the risk that someone would smear or erase it. If anyone ever asked me why I was spending so much time on a temporary piece of art, I'd always just tell them that whiteboards are a metaphor for the human condition. I usually shut them up. But the truth is, nothing's really temporary anymore. Once you snap a photo and put something online, it's pretty much immortalized forever. It took a couple of years, but I finally filled the whole whiteboard up. If you ask me where all the ideas came from, I can't tell you. I just drew it with a stream of consciousness and didn't stop. And then I came to work one day and saw a new second whiteboard show up. My boss, whose office is a few doors down from me, wanted me to keep going, so he ordered a new hallway whiteboard. Thanks a lot. So I've slowly started to draw on that one too. And now we're getting a full floor renovation, so I got permission to draw on the walls before they tear them down. So I asked some people on Twitter and Facebook what I should draw, and started adding all sorts of random things to it. If there's something creative that you enjoy doing, whether it's illustration, screen printing t-shirts, making custom typography, playing music, or whatever, there are ways to funnel those passions into your career, even if it's not in your job description. Drawing on these surfaces has actually been the catalyst for several friendships and opened the door for several internal opportunities. 2 whiteboards and a wall later, when people walk down the hallway and inevitably will stop and stare at this stuff for a while, sometimes they'll knock on my door and start a conversation. And sure, sometimes it's, hey, the guy who drew half a torso kitty, did the proper authorities know about him? But other times, it's a great conversation and leads to something genuine and worthwhile. In our digital age, I find it increasingly hard to remember that creativity does not have to be confined to a screen. So look for the opportunities that everybody is walking by and ignoring. Look for the normal and everyday and mundane, and think about how your passions and skills could transform them into something interesting and unique and worth stopping for. Look for the blank spaces and think about how your unique perspective on the world can help fill them in. All right, I saved the best for last. I recently got this invitation in the mail from my good buddy, the well-known actor Colin Farrell. This was after True Detective Season 2, so he was going through some rough times, and, well, here, just take a look.
The war was lost, the treaty signed. I was not caught. I crossed the line. I was not caught.
Ideally, everyone here is going to get hired for a great job and get paid for doing interesting, challenging, and fun work. But here's one question I'm always interested in and have asked before in interviews. What do you create for fun, for free? As a creative person in your limited spare time, what are you creating outside of work? Because creativity isn't just a switch that we turn on and off. Try as we might to turn it off, it's always on. As I said, I love consuming things. I love playing video games. I love watching movies and TV shows. I love reading. And yeah, the easiest thing to do after a long day at work is to make dinner, put the kids to bed, and then just plop on the couch and relax and be entertained for a few precious hours. But I also like taking those inspirations and experiences from the things that I consume and channel them into the things I create. So I think it's critically important to always have side projects, to have an outlet for raw, unrestricted creativity. No clients, no red tape, no deadlines, just a blank canvas for you to experiment with. That's what Colin Farrell's house party was. A short video experiment on Instagram made using a cheap green blanket as a green screen and After Effects to add myself into True Detective scenes. But these kind of videos are something I've done a lot. Short, simple, fun experiments.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
And it's always fun to get friends and family involved too.
So you catch that at Niners game this week?
I did. Actually good, right?
Yeah. They're doing pretty well.
Yeah, I think the defense should have...
Oh, yeah!
Still no score, and look at that hustle by number 4, Cameron Werner, as he joins the amorphous cluster of kicking preschoolers. You know, he's already on track to surpass his legendary father, Dave Werner of 1985 Fighting Leprechauns fame, who we all remember would just run around the field aimlessly with his arms outstretched, pretending to be a pterodactyl.
Yeah, Cameron pretty much follows my sports sensibilities. I did, when I was in kindergarten, I just would run around the field with my arms outstretched and say, "I'm a pterodactyl!" So, yeah. Here's the behind the scenes for that one. We had a little fan and I'm blowing in their faces as they're kicking. And then this is my favorite. All right, we got our poofy jackets.
You used to call me on my cell phone, late night when you need my love. Call me on my cell phone, late night when you need.
So, thank you. Thanks. And here's the behind the scenes for that one. So my wife left for 2 hours to go shopping, and this is what I did with the kids. Anyway. Another fun side project I did was a series of videos called Extraneous Lyrics, where I swapped out cheesy pop lyrics in favor of more verbose, thesaurus-centric variations.
I've seen you driving an automobile with a woman that I'm in love with, and I think you should go procreate with yourself. This is number 2 about the size of the income I have. It's not sufficient enough to keep you happy, so I think you should go procreate with yourself. If I had a higher gross annual income, we would still be in a relationship. Now it's not similar to fecal matter, and though I'm having chest pains, I still wish you a long and happy life. But all the same, you should go procreate with yourself. This is how the progression commences. Look, it's a toy receptor and we'll be acquainted. Eyes can be too intoxicated and on display. I have gyrations in the Michael Philip Jagger. I have gyrations in the Michael Philip Jagger. I have gyrations and rotations in that Sir Michael Philip Jagger. We concluded our proceedings in the form of twilight, but at this juncture, I'm explaining and proclaiming to you we will not incessantly, daily, perpetually continue our camaraderie. We are innocence finished, diminished. with our coexistence, to discuss with your compatriots, converse with my fellowship, articulate with me. But we have unheeded, completed, retreated, receded from a represent unneeded, and we're unable to cease, incapable of surrender to a standstill. We maintain possession of the sunless horizon. Can't you perceive our investment of sentient organisms? Yeah.
It's our social gathering, we conduct ourselves accordingly. This remains our brew, haha, we can act with subsequent behavior.
You're congenial with 2 X chromosomes. I'm aware you demand it. I'm conscious of your requirements. I'm well versed in your stipulations. You're a reputable mademoiselle. This method of grappling is matched for filthy etiquette. You engage with the proceedings, why conjure hallucinations with your double twill weave trousers? Sounds FOB of vaporization. You're the most thermogenic and familiar in this locality. Quite unclear how to commemorate this event. Unknown qualities to maneuverability. Subsisting solos inconceivable.
So we'll stop it there. So when you put something out there online, you never know who might see it, and it's still mind-blowing to me that something I could create in a small room in my office has potential to reach hundreds of thousands of people. Even Ariana Grande, who for the record has publicly said that she loves me. Sorry, Ariana, take it. But I also think it's important to mix up these side projects, and I'm discovering that my family has been a really great excuse for that. So this past spring, I coached Cameron's T-ball team, the Scrappers. And you're pretty much forced to be creative if you want to teach a dozen 5-year-olds how to play baseball for the first time. So we did this one practice where I wore a Kylo Ren mask. Teaching the fundamentals of base running is a lot more entertaining when you threaten to use force mind control on them if they run to the wrong base. And then I brought a phone and a tripod to practice one day and set up slow motion videos of the kids hitting and throwing to help pinpoint areas where they could improve. And then I put them all together and made a little video and did a commentary track. So Cameron here, he's got a good swing, but he comes down low, and then he starts his swing. So I said, keep it full motion all the way through. But that's a nice follow through. That's my son right there. Good job. And Cameron has also begun to show an early interest in acting. So we signed him up for a local family theater group where grown-ups and kids can sing and act together. And it's been great. He started out as a goblin elf in Peter Pan. I wasn't aware that Peter Pan had goblin elves, but apparently this production did. And then my wife joined him for Shrek, where he was a tap dancing bluebird, and she was one of the animatronic Duloc dancers, the ones that go, "Welcome to Duloc, such a perfect town," that one. And they've been having so much fun that Bridget and I have joined them now, and we are currently practicing for Grand Performing Arts' January 2017 production of The Little Mermaid. Cameron and Bridget will be tropical fish and tap dancing seagulls. April will be like 6 different dancing ensemble roles, and I will be this guy. Chef Louis, the guy who sings about les poissons, les poissons. I've never done live theater before, so this is a new challenge for me. And this time I won't have video editing or After Effects to hide my mistakes. But it's different. It's exciting. It's a risk, and that keeps life interesting. Thank you.